Welcome back to the Comstock channel. My name is Brian Hendrickson. It is the day before the WASDE report comes out, so that means it is time we meet with the WASDE wizard, Dan. Welcome, welcome.
Oh man, okay. I'll wear the wizard hat next time. Okay.
Okay. I'll send you one. But there's a couple things that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
So let's start your wizardry, starting with the U.S. grain ending stocks. There is a little change, but from looking at the graphs that I just put up, estimates are very wide range.
Yeah. Well, and the viewers are going to notice we're only talking about one line item here. We're talking about ending stocks, the leftovers at the end of the marketing year. Well, why all the different headings? Why do we slice and dice it so much? And there's a reason for that. First of all, backing up a little bit, we call it affectionately the WASDE report, but that's an acronym that stands for World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates. But that's a mouthful. So we always just call it the WASDE, and so does everybody else. So ending stocks is the bottom line. You got your supply, your yield, demand, and all this stuff, and use for exports, use for ethanol. And there isn't going to be a crop estimate update. We don't get another estimate of the crop size until the January report. So all that can change tomorrow are the usage estimates, usage for exports, ethanol usage, crush in the case of soybeans, and the ending stocks is the bottom line. That's what people go to first. And so looking at corn first, the average estimate is 2.176 billion bushels. Okay, that compares to 2.156 last month. Now, there's a whole range of estimates, though. That's why I put the red circle around there. The estimates range from 2.1 billion to 2.822 billion. I mean, that's a range wide enough to drive a truck through. And so now I want to direct the viewer's attention over to the right-hand column, because actually, when the estimates when people are polled for all these trade estimates, if you're using the Reuters ones, which are the ones that we use, they take two sets. They have everybody tell them what their firm thinks the carryout is going to be, and then they also have them give a different number on what they think USDA is going to say, because that's not always the same. And it comes through dramatically here, Brianne, when we're looking at corn. So here, their internal, the average of all these trade estimates is 2.176 billion bushels in a range from 2.1 to 2.8 billion. But look over at that far right-hand column. That's their estimate of what USDA is actually going to say tomorrow. And notice that estimate, the range is only from 2.1 billion to 2.3 billion. And so what they're saying there is that the range of estimates is very, very wide for what the firms are thinking, but it's a much narrower range for what they think USDA number might be. And turning down to soybeans, we have the very similar situation. The average estimate is for ending stocks to come in at 246 million bushels. Okay, that's up 1 million bushels from last month. Hardly any change at all. But oh my gosh, look at the range. The range is from 215 million to 345 million. And that's what the firms think it could be. Now, what's interesting, again, you go all the way over to the right-hand side and what they think USDA is going to say, and the range is 215 to 270. In other words, the traders, the range of estimates is much wider among what they think we're going to end up with, come next September 1st, than what they think tomorrow's report is going to be. So the range that's important is the far right-hand side, from 215 to 270. That's what they think USDA is going to fall somewhere within that range. Wheat, not quite as much disparity, you might say, between what they think it's going to be and what they think USDA is going to say. The average wheat ending stocks is 680 million bushels, and that's down 4 million from last month, hardly any change at all. But again, even in wheat, the range of estimates from 596 million to 700 million. And then you go over there, okay, but what do they think USDA is actually going to say? Not much difference, 670 to 700. So the variation there in these ranges comes mostly in what they think USDA is going to do with the usage estimates tomorrow. what they're going to do with the export estimates, or the corn for ethanol usage, or the soybean crush, that sort of thing. So that's where we stand right now. If you look at the average estimates, they don't see much change for tomorrow. And so that's where USDA comes in, the US balance sheets will be almost like price neutral. They have to be near one end or the other of those ranges for the market to react bullishly or bearishly.
Is it a good thing that it's such a wide range, or is it a bad thing that it's such a wide range and each one's different, I guess?
Well, your use of the term good or bad depends on your perspective. If you're bullish or bearish. Here's what it really tells me. If there's a wide range, that means there's a big potential for the numbers to be market sensitive, to actually move the market. Because if the numbers come in towards one end or the other of that range, that's going to be a significant deviation from the average guesstimate. Now, on the other hand, I know you hate economists. We're always saying on the one hand this, on the other hand that. Actually, a narrow range can also increase the chances of a market, because if the range of estimates is quite narrow, then it's easier for USDA's number to be above the highest estimate or below the lowest estimate and be market sensitive for that reason.
Let's talk about your perspective, though, on how you're looking at it.
I am leaning more towards estimates for all three crops coming in lower than the average trade estimate. In other words, I'm thinking that we could get a neutral to price friendly response to tomorrow's numbers. And the reason for that is because I think the people who are bearish think that USDA might cut the corn usage for ethanol. They might cut the corn export figure. But as I look at where sales really are on exports, for example, relative to where they need be, yeah, we had a big gap for quite some time, but we've been catching up. We've been making some pretty decent corn sales. And let's face it, the market year started September 1, so we got most of the year still ahead of us. I don't think USDA is going to cut the corn export number, and I don't think they're going to cut the corn use for ethanol number either. Therefore, I think the average estimate is going to come in at or below. I think USDA's number is going to be at or below what these averages are for all three of those crops.
Let's switch over to grain ending stocks.
Okay.
It looks like the estimates for all three of these commodities come in lower.
They do. This is the world ending stocks numbers. And again, it's the range of estimates. That's why I put a red circle around it that makes the difference. For corn, for example, the average estimate is for corn ending stocks worldwide to be 312.9 million tons. Okay, so that's down 2.1 million from last month. But look at the range of estimates from 309.5 to 316.5. So that's a fairly wide range on the global scale. And then if you look at, okay, that's what they think USDA is, or what their own internal numbers are, where are they on what they think USDA is going to be? Unlike the US balance sheets, where there was a big difference between their internal estimates and what they think USDA is going to say, there's not a whole lot of difference here. In other words, the traders are coming down on the side of, we think this is the range of what USDA numbers are going to be, and they're pretty closely matched with tomorrow, and they're pretty closely matched to where we think ending stocks are actually going to end up at the end of the marketing year. Turning to soybeans, the average estimate is 112.3 million tons. Okay, so that's down 2.2 or what? Yeah, no, that's 2.2 million tons from last time. But the range of estimates on soybeans is quite wide, from 106.2 to 116.8. And again, you look over at the far right-hand side, what they're saying is that where they think USDA is coming out tomorrow is not that far from what they believe internally. And that's an important factor. For wheat, 258.2 million tons, and that's down 500,000 tons from where they were last month, and not much change there. So there's a very big range in the estimates for global ending stocks. In fact, more of a range there than there was for the U.S. ending stocks that we just looked at.
The last one we are going to talk about, the world crop production. What
Just
is
in
the
South
wild
America.
card?
Yeah, the wild card is South America. Yeah, because a logical question that our viewers might be having was, what is it? If these are all professional firms that are putting out these guesstimates, how can they vary so much? Where's the variation? What's the wild card in their world estimates? It's all South America, particularly Brazil. You look at where they think Brazil's corn estimate tomorrow. The average estimate for where the traders are is 126 million tons. Okay, that's down 3 million from last time. But look at the range, 118 million to 129 million. And then if you look at their internal range, the internal range is much narrower. What they think USDA is going to say for just tomorrow, somewhere between 125 and 129. So their range of estimates for USDA is quite a bit narrower than the range of where they think we could end up come next September. Soybeans, it's even a bigger wild card. We all know that central and western Brazil went through a lot of drought, really almost stunted the crop. And then since Thanksgiving, they've been getting some rain, and that's what pushed the market down. So where do they come in for tomorrow? What they think is tomorrow that the average is going to be 160.2 million tons, and that's down 2.8 million from last month. And if you look at where the firms are internally, then that's the left-hand figure, 159.5 million. That's down 3.5 million. In other words, they think USDA is going to be conservative. They don't think USDA is going to cut the Brazilian soybean crop as much as they internally think it's going to end up being. Argentina is a little bit of a wild card. Argentina was getting, southern Brazil was getting too much rain, while northern Brazil got too little. In Argentina, they were getting too little, and now it looked like their crops were going to be stunted. But now they've had that excess rain in southern Brazil has crept farther down into Argentina as well. So now the average trade estimate for Argentine corn is 54.6. It's down just 400,000 tons from last month, but there are ranges from 52 to 56 million tons. Argentine soybeans, 48.4. So they actually think on average, they think the Argentine soybean crop is going to be raised about 400,000 tons from last time. And that USDA might even raise it a bit more than that if you look at what they think USDA might do. But the big wild card is Brazil. And where we're thinking is that we agree that USDA is likely to be conservative. And so we think that average trade estimate of 159 or 160 million tons is probably going to be about right. We think USDA will be conservative in what they cut. Now, are we conservative internally? No. As we've been pointing out, we've been watching what's going on down there, and we pay a lot of attention to analysts within Brazil whom we know and whom we respect. And they are significantly lower. In fact, we've got some some Brazilian contacts think that the Brazilian crop could be as low as 150 and to 156 or 157. So the folks in Brazil think USDA is going to, whatever they come out with tomorrow, is not going to cut it enough. So in terms of market reaction, we think that the trade is, in terms of guessing, well, what's the USDA going to say? The market is expecting them to be conservative. If you look at that far right-hand figure, what they think USDA is going to say is 161.9, which is down just 2.1 million tons, or 1.1 million tons from last time. So that's where we are on the world situation. We're expecting a cut. We're expecting it to go down, but we expect USDA to be conservative and not cut it as much as most traders are actually expecting it to be cut.
So every time that we finish this, it's my question I always ask you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
Well, my view is that I totally agree with the analysts that are polled every month that USDA plays it conservatively. Even when Brazil's own internal estimates come out significantly lower than USDA's last estimate, at most they split the difference. They say, well, we know that CONAB, for example, is quite a bit lower than we are, so we'll split the difference and we'll come down from our last month effort. You got to remember where we are in planting. They're still trying to finish up planting. So in all fairness to USDA, you got to cut them a little bit of slack for being a little bit conservative on how drastically they cut their numbers from the previous month when they're still just finishing up the planting down there and have the whole growing season ahead of them. So my view on the market reactions tomorrow, our internal view is that the crops are probably going to end up smaller than what USDA says they will be. But we think the average trade guesses are probably close to what the government will say tomorrow for a neutral report. And if you put the gun to my head and said, okay, but if there's a surprise, is it more likely to be price friendly or price negative? I'm saying that if there's a surprise, I think it's actually more likely to be price friendly surprise from USDA tomorrow.
All right, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
Want more premium content? Subscribe to the Comstock Report, where you will receive 2 reports daily. Want more video content? We are on Facebook, YouTube, and now TikTok. So don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.